Hello and welcome back to Black Hole Battles game development here on Let's Code Physics. I made the comment last video that now that we're in a turn-based system, I can probably afford to make the playing field a little bit more difficult, to add in to make the black holes closer together, make them a little harder to evade. And so that's what I've done. That's what I want to show you today. This will probably be a brief tour of just some calibration updates. The first thing I've done is I've drastically decreased the minimum separation that there can be between black holes. So previously this was given by this sort of box size. So this is the size of the play area times some factor. This factor was previously 0.2. It's now 0.01. So reduced it by let's see, I reduced it by a half and I reduced it by a tenth. So that's reducing it by a 20th, right? Correct me if I'm wrong on my fractions there. It's been a long morning so far. The other thing that I've done is I've increased the number of black holes. We previously had 10 for our sample level. We've now got 30. And those are all spawning within this same region of xmax to xmin to xmax and ymax and ymin to ymax. So we've got triple the density of black holes per unit area, which is pretty cool. Speaking of density, the other thing that I've changed is I've made the black holes more dense. So for example, the black holes are now exerting a stronger gravitational pull. They've got a stronger mass per unit volume. So I've done that by setting this density factor here. And then way down at the bottom of the code, when we create the black holes and give them their mass, we're now scaling that mass with the density. I also made an adjustment to how the black hole mass is determined. Previously, it was just determined like they were all uniform density and scaling with the volume. That's what I had here. So basically, they all had a density of 1, and the mass was assigned like the volume, so the radius cubed. I was corrected about that on a comment on an earlier video. I don't remember who. My apologies for not looking it up. But I looked up a reference on it just to double check and make sure I got the math right, which I'll include in the link to in the description below. But basically, black hole density, black hole mass goes up like the radius to the first power. So as a black hole increases in mass, it becomes more tightly packed. And when we're talking about the density here, we're not talking about the density of the actual cluster of matter in the center of the black hole, which in principle is an infinite density. We're talking about the size of the event horizon, so the sort of practical size of the black hole. For our purposes, the size of the black hole image that if you touch, your ship cannot escape. And so what we're doing here is we're just making the black hole mass proportional to the size of the black hole. So this random transform here is the thing that gives the black hole its scale sizing. And then we've got the density factor here. So if I want to make the level more difficult, I can just increase this density factor. Another thing we're doing differently is we're storing the black hole mass on the black hole itself. So now each black hole has attached to it a script called this black hole mass, and the sole purpose of that script currently is just to store that black hole's mass value. This is to prevent us from having to access a whole bunch of lists for the mass. I am still keeping track of the black hole masses in a list just in case there's any stray references to that I haven't eliminated yet. But by the time we get to the final version of this game, or maybe I should say the releasable version of this game, we'll remove that list just to save ourselves some memory. One other change I made while I was doing this, because we've got stronger, more densely populated black holes, it was becoming more and more likely that the black holes would spawn near either my ship, the player ship, or the enemy ship. And so what I've added in here is a new check for whether the black holes are spawning too close to any of the ships that are in play. So previously we've been checking the black holes locations based on whether they're too close to each other. So we're checking it based on this min separation here. We've also now got a factor min clearance that's based on the size of the ships. And basically we're checking to make sure that the black holes don't spawn too close to the to any of the ships. So just like with checking for proximity to other black holes, if a black hole tries to spawn too close to the player ship, we tell it no, that's a bad location, and we keep looping over until we select better coordinates. Yeah, here's our loop here. While bad location, we're selecting the random locations there. So that works out pretty well. So let me just show you what this looks like. You've seen the game running several times now, so I'm just going to reference the new version, not the old version. So what we end up with is, you can see it's definitely much more closely populated. I do have, like for example, up here, let me see if I can pan up to there. I do have up here some black holes that are overlapping with each other. So that's something I need to add a check for, because those black holes would be merging, which is something I want to add to increase the difficulty of the game eventually, is to have the black holes start to merge in like a sudden death round or something. So we'll keep an eye on my ship here, an eye on the enemy ship over here. So I'm going to try to go between these two black holes. So I'm going to rotate myself this way, thrust this way, and let's see. So I'm going to go that way, and you notice that the enemy ship was thrusting in this direction, but it got moved this direction. So we've got a much stronger gravitational pull from the black holes now, which is good, because previously he would have just been able to sail right on by. I have overshot to the right too much, so I'm going to rotate up a little bit and hopefully avoid this black hole here. Oh, and he died, so the level reset. So yeah, so it's a lot harder now. This game is a lot more difficult now. Even if you just watch the enemy ship, he's having a hard time staying out of the black hole. There, he died again. So you can tell the enemy controls are not working up to the challenge in this case. So what I'm going to need to do before too long is adjust the trajectory generation and the cost evaluation in the enemy controls. But first, I want to synchronize the turns between these ships. So I think that's going to be the next video, is about the turn synchronization. Because right now, for example, let's say I set to rotate and thrust. Watch me and watch the enemy ship. We don't rotate, thrust, and fire at the same time. So, like, he does his own... Well, he dies there, so that's a bad example. It's like, let's suppose I just thrust and fire. So he's rotating, thrusting, and firing. I thought I set this thing to fire. Maybe I didn't. Let's thrust backwards then. So you notice that we don't fire necessarily at the same time, because we're not synchronized. So I'd like to get those three actions synchronized, so that you consider that together you take a move turn, or a rotate turn, then a move turn, and then a firing turn. So I think that'll make the play work out a little bit better. So, short video today, but hopefully an exciting one, seeing all these black holes so densely populated. Next time we'll dig back we'll dig back into the turn manager to synchronize our turns, and then after that we'll start making our enemy ship hopefully a little bit more intelligent. So, as always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.